Hello students. In the last class, have been discussed about the power quality. How does it is related to the very much related to the voltage quality. The power quality, which it has been defined, are the issues which is going to affect into a system is due to the voltage quality only. And why are we concerned about the power quality? Also, we have seen it in terms of the industrial load. How does it is going to influence uh, uh, the economy of the industry if there is any kind of an issues which will be there in a system. And the power quality evaluation procedure, where we have seen like uh, in what way we need to give an appropriate solution to improve the quality of the supply. See, there are the different kinds of solutions will be there, will be available in mitigating the power quality problems. In that case, like we need to evolve certain procedural methodology to improve the quality of the supply. And then we have gone to the general classification of the power quality problems based on the IEEE 519 standard and IEC standard. Basically, this IEC standard, they have been defined with the electromagnetic interference or the electromagnetic disturbances. Based on that, they have been classified also. The classification of the power quality problems is one is IEEE 519 standard. This is IEC also have given some of the standards, standards also, or some, and also they have been classified the different kind of the power quality problems. Majorly, the power quality problems has been categorized based on the steady state phenomena, and then the non-steady state phenomena. Okay. Yeah, the steady state phenomena is basically the attributes which have been there as to measure with respect to the amplitude, frequency, spectrum, modulation, and source impedance, notch depth, and notch area. The non-steady state phenomena, basically the rate of rise and then the duration. Yeah, this amplitude and spectrum and the frequency is there in the steady state phenomena also. And then the rate of occurrence and how much the energy has been involved in in the in the uh, in the power or in the supply also, and then the potential. Okay, these are the things which have been based on this rate of rise and then the duration and rate of occurrence. They have been categorized to a non-steady state phenomena. Okay, non-steady state phenomena. In the last class, we have seen about the transient, the definition in what way. I mean, the transients majorly, which has been whatever you've been studied in the circuit analysis, the same kind of the transients will be there in the power systems. Maybe the lightning phenomena, maybe the charging of the cables or charging the transformer also. Okay, the transients. When you see the transients, yeah, the transients, the other term also, which is related to, I mean, the other synonym, which is of equal to surge also, which is equal to surge also. Some they will call it as a surge. Yeah. End users, I mean, we have seen about this transient also in what way. Basically, if there is any variation or the sudden variation between the either in the voltage or in the current between the two steady state points, that can be called it as a transient also, the way uh, it has been defined also. When it comes to the impulsive transient, this is a non-power frequency change, and in the steady state condition of voltage, current, or both, that is unidirectional polarity, primarily either the positive or the negative. Okay, the impulsive transients, which are normally categorized by the rise or decay times. Okay, that is basically rise and decay time, and can be revealed by their spectral content. Maybe the harmonic the spectral content means like we need to find out the magnitude with respect to the frequency component. Okay, based on that, it has been categorized. The most common cause of the impulsive transient is the lightning phenomena. Is due to a lightning phenomena. And when you see a waveform, how does it looks for the lightning stroke current impulsive transient? It have only the negative direction. It all depends upon at what particular time of the instant or it has been occurred also. Okay, when you see this one, the current which is of only the negative direction is only changing in the the value. Okay, that's what we have been defined it as a unidirectional change, either in the positive or in the negative, and then it can be occurred in the voltage or in the current or in both also. Okay, that is the definition. Because of high frequency involved, the shape of impulsive transient can change quickly by circuit components and may have significantly different characteristics when viewed from the different parts of the system. Okay, it is like because of the impedance coming into the picture, the at the inception maybe the magnitude may be the very high. When you go for a far away or any other components of a power system of a network also, there is a wide change in the characteristics, especially with respect to the rate of rise and rate of decay also. Okay, don't think that the waveform whatever we have seen over here, this will be there in the entire system also. It won't be there in the entire system. It all depends upon the circuit elements and the transmission of this current over a line for a longer distance. Also, it may the rate of rise may not be the same. Also, the rate of decay also it may not be the same. Also, okay, yeah. They are not. They are generally not conducted far from the source or where they enter in the power systems. Okay, when we go very far away from the source or from the inception where it has been occurred, the sensitivity or the sensitive level in the magnitude may come down also. We conducted for quite some distance along the utility lines. Impulsive transients can excite the natural frequency of power system circuit and produce the oscillatory transients. See, there is a chance of this impulsive transient. There is a chance of this impulsive transients. There is a chance of this impulsive transients can transfer for a longer duration also. If it is transformed, can excite the natural frequency component. The natural frequency may be the fundamental frequency or the system level frequency of the components of L and C also. Of the components which has been related to the L and C. It is not necessary with respect to the fundamental frequency. There may be the natural frequency with respect to the network also. Of those frequency level, the impulsive transient produces the oscillatory transients. The oscillatory transient, especially when you see a circuit where it has been excited with a DC circuit. Let us assume that, I mean, I'll just, yeah. Suppose if we give a DC excitation, and when you have a an RC element, if you are measuring this is the VDC and then the R and then the C. We're turning on the switch at t is equal to 0. Okay. In that case, we have a DC, this is the input voltage. Then the rise of the voltage, maybe it all depends upon the time constant I'm drawing about this particular waveform is a capacitor voltage. In this case, maybe it takes a rise and then it start decaying it. It start decaying it depending upon the time constant of the circuit also. These kind of this is I'm just showing out, it is an oscillatory transient, but it have the only the positive and the negative, positive positive change only. There may be, if you take about a sinusoidal waveform, there may be the case where you will be having the transients oscillating this way. This is of oscillatory transients, which tries to oscillate to this entire, and maybe it tries to it takes a time to settle down also. Okay, what I mean to say that is, the point is, there are here impulsive transient can excite the natural frequency of the power system circuits and produces the oscillatory transients. Oscillatory transient, it is of having the change in the magnitude of the voltage or the current in the both the directions. But in the particular to this waveform, have shown in the variation, when you take about this variation, is having the only the positive variation. When it has come over here, you have the variation in the negative also, only the negative. But generally the oscillatory transient will be coming into a picture of this way. Okay, of this way. This, okay, this way. Okay. The impulsive transient can excite the natural frequency of a power system circuit and produces oscillatory transients. Okay, yeah. Coming back to this oscillatory transient is also a non-steady state phenomena in a system. An oscillatory transient is a sudden non-power frequency change in the steady state condition of voltage, current, or both, that includes both positive and negative polarity values. When you see that comparison with the impulsive transient and oscillatory transient, but this oscillatory transient, which includes both positive and negative polarity values. An oscillatory transient consists of voltage or current whose instantaneous values change its polarity rapidly. It is described by its spectral content, predominant frequency component. There is a predominant frequency component, and then the duration, and then magnitude. Okay. Basically, this oscillatory transient is going to occur into a system back-to-back capacitor energization. We have a capacitor bank. It's a back-to-back. Is it of this thing something like we have two capacitors bank which has been energized to a system simultaneously, which is energized to a system simultaneously. Okay, it looks like I mean, to a line we have a capacitor banks. We have a capacitor bank, and maybe there is a, will be turning out into a simultaneous, and maybe you can say a single pole. Okay, when you're turning on this one, we will be turning on this two capacitor banks simultaneously. At that moment, there is a sudden variations in the energy levels. Okay, sudden changes in the energy levels that results in oscillatory transient current in tens of kilohertz has been illustrated in this particular figure. Okay, this is away from the typical oscillatory transient current caused by the back-to-back capacitor energization. You can see that the amount of the charging current which takes is something around 750 7,500 kilowatts it takes. Again, after a duration of 5 milliseconds, the current is going to decay once it has been charged to the rated value. This kind of a particular problem will be, you might be seeing that in normal the capacitor which we have been maybe if you connect a capacitor to a supply voltage, if there is any kind of a measurement which you have to measure the current also, the charging current which takes the high current, after that once it has been charged to a value of the maybe the supply voltage peak, or it all depends on the what kind of the circuit what kind of the applied voltage applied across the capacitor. Okay, this capacitor bank switching also will be having the oscillatory transients. And then the cable switching and the cable switching also. I mean, obviously the cable switching, when you look into a power system where you have been studying your PS2 maybe, the cable also entirely, which is a cable also is equivalent to the capacitors between the lines also. Okay, the way which been the equivalent circuit component, or the basic circuit component, they have been defined with the capacitor only. In that case also, whenever we have been switching the connecting the cables, in that case also we'll be seeing that an oscillatory voltage transients in the same frequency range. The medium frequency transients can also be result of response to an impulsive transients. We have a two medium frequency transients, and then when you see this transients, we have seen like in this particular yeah, especially this oscillatory transients. In that case, we have seen the impulse transient, nanosecond, millisecond, and the microsecond oscillatory also. These are the categories based upon the spectral content, and then the time duration also, and then the time duration. Based on that, here in oscillatory transient, they have categorized to low frequency, medium frequency, and high frequency based upon the spectral content of when you see this particular less than the 5 kilohertz, it has been categorized to the low frequency, and medium frequency, it has been categorized to the 5 to 500 kilohertz, and then the high frequency is 0.5 to 5 megahertz. Whereas the impulsive transient, basically maybe it has been categorized based upon the rise time. This is the rise time of 5 nanoseconds, and then the 1 microseconds and 0.1 millisecond, sorry. And the typical duration, maybe when you see about the up to what duration the impulse persists or will be there in the system also, based on that has been categorized the impulsive transient as nanosecond, microsecond, and the millisecond. Whereas the oscillatory transient has been categorized based upon the frequency content of 5 kilohertz, and then the time duration, and even the magnitude of the voltage also. Yeah. Yeah. The medium frequency transients can only be the result of a system response to an impulsive transient. These are the medium frequency components are being occurred due to the impulsive transients in a system. Okay. Yeah. This is the current waveform, which is the oscillatory transient is occurred to the back-to-back capacitor switching. The oscillatory transient with principal frequencies less than 300 Hz can also be found on the distribution system also. These are the Generally, the principal frequencies less than 300 Hz can also be found in the distributions level. It's not like that at the transmission level only. It may be, you may be thinking of occurring the oscillated transient. This may occur. This will occur at the distribution level of the frequency less than 300 Hz. Okay. And these are the oscillated transient. These are generally associated with the ferroresonance and then the transformer energization also. These will be occurring with the ferroresonance and then the transformer energization. Ferroresonance is again the phenomena which is related to a, I mean, it is very well related to a resonance kind of a phenomena only. But this ferroresonance is very much related to the magnetizing circuits. Okay, magnetizing circuit, even the capacitor banks also. This ferroresonance and the transformer energization problems will be associated with the oscillatory transients also. Maybe the oscillatory are generally associated with the frequency resonance, and then transformer energization also will be called it as an oscillatory transients. But this kind of the phenomena which has been there of the ferroresonance, it is much similar to a resonance phenomena, but the thing is only based upon the variation in the inductance, basically due to the variation of the inductance only, it is going to occur. We'll be going to see this kind of the ferroresonance. The concept of the ferroresonance is in the harmonic sources also. Yeah. Next is the voltage imbalance. Don't think that the imbalance is also call it as an unbalance also, and the unbalance in the voltages is also occurred in the current also. It is not about the voltage alone. Okay, the current, there will be a current imbalance in a system also. But the measurement is slightly, I mean, there are the different definitions are there to measure about the voltage imbalance. Okay. The voltage imbalance or the unbalance is sometimes defined as the maximum deviation from the average of the three-phase voltages, yeah, from the average of the three-phase voltages or currents. This is a maximum deviation from the average of the three-phase voltage or current divided by the average of the three-phase voltages or currents expressed in percentage. Expressed in percentages. The imbalances is more rigorously defined in the standards using symmetrical components also. Okay, the imbalance is more rigorously defined in the standards using the symmetrical components also. Generally, using the symmetrical component, we'll be trying to resolve any kind of an unbalanced system. We are going to study by the symmetrical components, that is negative sequence and then the zero sequence and then the positive sequence. See, in a system, the negative sequence, we won't expect to have a negative sequence or a zero sequence in a system also. The ratio of either the negative sequence or the zero sequence component to the positive sequence component can be specified the percentage unbalance. There is two definitions which have been there in the with respect to the voltage unbalance or the imbalance, even the current imbalance or the imbalance also. This is the one of the definition of voltage imbalance. Okay, this is the maximum deviation from the average of the three-phase voltages or current divided by the average of the three-phase voltage or current expressed in total. And the one more definition is the ratio of either negative or a zero sequence to the positive sequence component also. The most recent standards specify that the negative sequence method be used. This is the most recent method also. Third point, which shows about this is the they have been come to a conclusion that we need to go with the negative sequence method. But still, people are working out in defining the definition of the voltage imbalance also. You can find out there are the different ways in finding out the voltage imbalance factor or the current imbalance factor also. Okay. Basically, the voltage imbalance is going to occur due to the single phase loads, due to a single phase load connection on a three phase circuit also. Generally, we were not the most of our our appliances or our loads also. I mean, if it is the huge the power rating, if you go for a higher power rating, then we will be going to go for a three phase circuit. Otherwise, most of our domestic loads, whatever we have, it is or a single phase loads also. Because of uneven connection of the loads to a phases, that will also be creating the unbalance in a system also, unbalance in currents. That unbalanced currents will influence the voltage drop. Okay, that unbalance, I mean, obviously any kind of a generator will be having the feeder impedance. Next to the feeder impedance, there will be a drop. I mean, if you have a feeder impedance, there is a drop will be there also. Depending upon the current flow in a line of phase A and phase B and phase C, there will be the drop. That drop minus the voltage is going to occur at the terminal point or at the load point where your load is connected also. Then obviously, if you have any uneven connection of the loads with respect to the, I mean, uneven loads connection with respect to the phases, then we'll be having definitely we'll be having the voltage unbalance also. Uh, um, Even, I mean, you might be seeing in a day-to-day life in our households also, there may be the problems. One of the in particular room, we'll be seeing that the illumination is very poor also. But same, if you take about the same wattage of around 36 watts of a tube light or even CFL also, sometimes because of the voltage drop in one of the phase, we'll be seeing that the illumination will be very less. That the other phases will be working very fine also. But the problem because of the uneven connection of the loads. I'm just presenting an example where we can see that there is a one of the phase is having the more the load has been connected, because of that we'll be having the voltage drop. In that case, if you try to connect any kind of another load, suppose a three-phase induction motor, suppose if you connect a three-phase induction motor, if you excite the three-phase induction motor with the unbalanced voltage, you'll be seeing that the oscillatory torque or the pulsating torque which is going to generated by the your induction motor also, that will be again a very serious problem will be there in a system also. Okay, sometimes one of the example here it is quoted over here, voltage unbalance can also be the result of blown fuses in one of the phase of a three-phase capacitor bank. Okay, because voltage unbalance can also be result of the blown on in one phase of a three-phase capacitor bank also. Okay, severe voltage unbalance can result a single phasing connection also. It can be result to a single phasing connection. Yeah. Yeah. Next is next the definition is the waveform distortion. This is a, so far whatever we have seen, it is the transients and then the voltage imbalance. Coming back to the voltage imbalance, I forgot to mention one important point. The voltage imbalance is a steady state phenomena. Okay, is a steady state phenomena? It is not. Don't think like it is a non-steady state phenomena. The voltage imbalance will be there for a longer duration also, and basically it all having the fundamental component of the unbalance. There won't be any harmonic spectrum also. There won't be any kind of a rate of rise and rate of decay also. There is a magnitude reduction for a longer duration also. The voltage imbalance is a Yeah, is a steady state phenomenon. Yeah. Coming back to this waveform distortion, the waveform waveform distortion is a yeah. The waveform distortion is defined as a steady state deviation from an ideal sine wave of power frequency, principally characterized by the spectral content of the deviation. Okay, spectral content of the deviation. Okay. And the distortion, there are five primary types of the waveform distortion in a system. Okay, primary types of waveform distortion in voltage or in the current also. One of the factor which is creating the distortion is a DC offset. Okay, DC offset, and then harmonics, interharmonics, and notching, noise. Basically, this DC offset is due to the DC loads. Due to the DC loads, uh, if you have any kind of a half wave rectification or even the full wave rectification also, okay, it's not related to the half wave rectification and then the DC rectification, I mean full wave rectification also, that you will be creating a DC current in a system also. Because of the DC current existed going to exist into a system, we'll be having the a waveform distortion in a current also. Okay. The presence of a DC voltage or a current in an AC power system is termed as a DC offset. The presence of DC voltage or the current in an AC power system is termed as DC offset. This can occur as a result of a geomagnetic disturbance or of asymmetric asymmetry of electronic power converters. Okay, this is basically due to the asymmetry of the electronic power converters also. Okay, incandescent light bulb life extenders, for example, may consist of diodes that reduces the RMS voltage supplied to the light bulb by half-wave rectification. In that case, we'll be having that only one of the cycle only will be having the voltage, the current also. One of the voltage only, it is half wave only, it is going to supply the current. That current will be creating a DC offset in a current. Obviously, when there is a flow of DC offset current, you will be seeing that with respect to the voltage at the terminal also, because once the DC offset current flows to the feeder impedance also. Okay, that is creates the DC bit that will make the offset in the DC voltage also. Okay, when you have a DC currents, this causes an additional heating and losses of a transformer life also. Okay, we have a heating and then the losses of a loss of a transformer life also. The DC current may also cause electrolytic erosion of grounding electrodes and other connectors also. Another connectors. Obviously, I mean, it has to flow to the neutral wire. Whatever the DC current is there, if it is a neutral connection in the entire system, may also cause the electrolytic erosion of the grounding electrodes. This is also one of the major issue when you have when you allow the DC current. In general, in day-to-day life, the DC loads have, I mean, nowadays the DC loads have come down like anything also, because one thing, the way which they says about the DC loads have come down because they go for most of the loads will be going for a full wave rectification also. When you're going for a full wave rectification, the current which is there is related to the, I mean, it doesn't looks like a full wave. I mean, the current, when you go for a full wave rectification, the current will be implicated in the negative side. The same, whatever the positive current which is implied, it is implied to the negative side also. In that case, I mean, the output of your full wave rectification may be the DC, but the AC side, it looks like a typically the AC component of the current which is flowing only. Whatever the half wave rectification, whatever the half wave controlled rectifiers also, that will be creating a very, I mean, that will, because of those half wave rectifiers, will be having the DC offset in a system. So the DC offset is also creating the waveform distortion. As I said, like in general, this DC offset nowadays in the distribution level has come down like anything. There is no DC DC currents will be available in a system also. Yeah. Next is the harmonics. These are the harmonics or the sinusoidal voltages or current having frequencies that are integer multiples, that are integer multiples of frequency at which the supply system is designed to operate. Maybe the fundamental frequency is 50 Hz or even the 60 Hz. The harmonic components will be there, the integer multiple of the fundamental frequency components. Okay. Periodically, distorted waveforms can be decomposed into a sum of the fundamental frequency and the harmonic and the harmonics. Harmonic distortion originates in the nonlinear characteristics of devices and loads on the power system. Okay, the nonlinear characteristics. How do you categorize the nonlinear characteristics? Is depending upon the VI characteristics of a device. Okay, depending upon the VI characteristics of a device also, and loads on the power systems. Okay, they have not even mentioned about the power electronic loads. Okay, they are not mentioned about the power electronics loads will be creating the distortion. They have mentioned it as a nonlinear characteristics of a devices and loads on the power systems. Okay, it means that whatever the load which is there for a cycle, for a positive and negative cycle, or for a complete cycle, when supply voltage of a cycle means you take about a positive and then negative. If there is any impedance change, if the load impedance has been changed in this particular cycle, then we'll be calling it as a nonlinear load also, or nonlinear device also. This, what is that exactly is going to do is it won't allow for a if you take about a complete cycle, if you take about a complete if you take about a cycle away, think of the load of the impedance. The impedance at this particular point is, this is the impedance graph. I'm drawing about the impedance graph with respect to the supply time. I'm just, I'll take out another color. Yeah. The impedance is going to have this particular, okay. Yeah, maybe at this moment it is going to make out this shape. Yeah. This is the, maybe this graph is going to come. This is the impedance curve, Z of t is changing, right? During this particular portion, the impedance of what is very low. During this particular portion, the impedance is very much low also at this portion. Then at that moment, if there is any kind of a load where the impedance is changing with respect to the time, then we'll be calling it as a nonlinear characteristics, and then the nonlinear load also, and then the nonlinear load. Yeah, this harmonic distortion levels are categorized or described by completely harmonic spectrum with magnitudes and phase angles of each individual harmonic component. Okay, the harmonic distortion level are described by the completely harmonic spectrum with magnitudes and phase angle of each individual harmonic component. Okay, this way we are going to find the distortion levels. Okay, for that what we required is we required the harmonic spectrum, and we required the harmonic magnitudes, and then the phase angles, of each individual harmonic component. It is also common to use a single quantity, the total harmonic distortion, as a measure of the effective value of the harmonic distortion. Okay, the total harmonic distortion as a measure of the effective value of the harmonic distortion. Okay. Generally, if you want to measure the harmonic distortion, we will be going about a total harmonic distortion. We will be going about a total harmonic distortion. Is there when you are measuring the total harmonic distortion, is there a DC component is going to come? Is there a DC component will be there or not? Okay. And one more thing. Okay. Is the total harmonic distortion, is it dependent on the peak to peak current? Okay. Is it dependent on the peak to peak amplitude of the current? Okay. I mean, please, work out yourself. Like I'm asking like a question to you. The total harmonic distortion, is it dependent on the peak to peak value of a voltage or a current also? And one more thing is, when you are finding out the THD, is there a DC component is in consideration in finding out the total harmonic distortion? Okay. Next factor, we have seen like the waveform distortion is due to the DC offset as well as harmonics. Next factor is of for the harmonics, the waveform distortion. There is one more factor which is of interharmonics. This interharmonics will exist in both the voltage or the current having the frequency components that are not integer multiples of the frequency. Just a minute. Yeah. Voltage or current having frequency component that are not integer multiples, that are a non-integer multiples of frequency at which the supply system is designed to operate are called interharmonics. They can appear as discrete frequencies or as a wide spectrum. Okay, this is a discrete frequencies or as a wide spectrum. I mean, this wide spectrum actually we have been observed in the case of the PWM schemes also. Okay, when you're going for a PWM schemes, then you might be seeing about the wideband spectrum. Okay, this interharmonics can be found in networks of all voltage classes. The main sources of interharmonic waveform distortion are the static frequency converters. Wherever we have the frequency change of the converters are there, in that case we'll be having this the interharmonics, and then we have a cycloconverters, and then induction furnaces and arc devices. Okay, we have a power line carrier signals also, but the impact of this power line carrier signals is in term with respect to the magnitude, uh, the frequency with respect to this. The frequency of this power line carrier signals is at very high frequency. But these kind of the interharmonics, as such, like in a system, it won't have much impact over there also. Even like, I mean, it won't have an impact. The meaning is the interharmonics at the power line carrier signal frequency level, they'll be easily attenuate, or they will easily drop out because of the internal impedance or the internal inductance, and then the capacitance, it will be going to die out also. Okay, and also in the PWM, in a PWM schemes, I mean, if at all, if you are going to use any in Trice application also, in that case we'll be having the interharmonics. We have seen like in the unipolar and the bipolar switching operation, where we have seen like at what particular frequency level we'll be having the switching frequency components. And these are also are all related to the interharmonics. Okay. In power systems, as the varying interharmonic frequency becomes coincident with the natural frequencies of a system, maybe the fundamental, they have been shown in to affect the power line carrier signaling. Basically, what I mean to say that if you have a frequency component which is related to the power line carrier signals, maybe induces flicker, visual flicker in fluorescent and other arc lightning, as well as in computer displays also. I mean, sudden glitch over there in a display also because of the interharmonic frequency component existing in the voltage. This interharmonics also will be creating the distortion in the voltage or even in the current also. Yeah, next is the notching. This notching is a periodic voltage disturbances. We will be having the periodic disturbance means we have a disturbance in the positive voltage and then the negative voltage also. Okay, periodic voltage disturbances caused by the normal operation of power electronic devices when current is commutated from one phase to another phase. Basically, like you might have studied about the commutation circuits. In one of the case, in the case of a three-phase bridge rectifier, when you have a three-phase bridge rectifier, we have been studied the three-phase bridge rectifier with the effect of the source inductance. When you have a effect of the source inductance, in that case, the transmission of one of the switch to another switch, there will be a delay. That transmission of one of the switch to another switch, the frequency with which it is vary, it is not about the integer multiple of the frequency component. Okay, this is at the higher frequency. Okay, during that process also, the notching which is there, because of the drop across the source inductance, okay, whatever the current which is flow or the transmission of the current from one phase to another phase, there is a delay will be there, and that current magnitude also sometimes it is a very lesser also. Because of that a changeover of the current of one of the device to another phase, in that case we'll be having a notching. That notching also will be there in the voltage. That is also the notching, whatever the drop across the inductance is there, that voltage, once it is drop across the feeder impedance, if you see if you neglect that, if you subtract the supply voltage, if you subtract the notch voltage drop or the source inductance voltage drop, the notch, whatever the notch which is dropped out on the feeder impedance or the source inductance, and then the terminal voltage, you will be seeing that notch. That notch is also creating a disturbance in the voltage. and that notch, whatever it is there, is a periodic. You will be having the if there is a disturbance which is occurred at 30 degrees, then obviously that 30 degrees maybe 30 plus 120 if there is a transmission. At 150 you will be having in the positive cycle, and then 30 plus 180 will be having a notch at the 210 degrees also. Okay, wherever we be having the change of the current from one phase to other phase, will be having the notching in the voltage. This also will be creating a waveform distortion. The second point, if you see the second point, since notching occurs continuously, it can be categorized to the harmonic spectrum. It is categorized through the harmonic spectrum of the affected voltage. However, it is generally treated as a special case. That means that it is not considered to a harmonics, or not to be considered as the interharmonics also. This one as a interharmonics. This has been treated as a separate special case. The frequency component associated with the notching can be quite high and may not be readily characterized with the measurement equipment normally used for the harmonic analysis. Also. Even like the interharmonics also, we cannot able to measure a properly also in some of the case of the whatever you use the harmonic analysis for those. We can't able to do the analysis, the interharmonics or notching with the normal whatever we do the harmonic analysis, the measurement, the equipment which is used. Yeah. Next is a noise. These noise are typically like any interference of other frequency component or any kind of a loose connections. If you are measuring the a signal in a CRO, generally if you are not having a connection with the properly also, then also we'll be seeing that the signal in the voltage. These are the measurement I'm just mentioning about the measurement of a signal particularly to visualize in what way the noise looks like. These kind of a noise in a power system generally because of a loose contacts or a loose connections, we'll be having this kind of a noise. This noise is defined as an unwanted electrical signal with broadband spectral content lower than 20 kilohertz, lower than the 20 kilohertz, superimposed upon the power system's voltage or current in phase conductors, are found on neutral conductors, because neutral conductors are signal lines, especially the neutral conductors. Generally because of the erosion also will be not been connected properly to a system also. Okay, because of that also we'll be having a occurrence of a noise in a system. The noise in power systems can be caused by power electronic devices, the control circuits, arc equipment, loads with solid state rectifiers, and switching power supplies. Okay, noise problems are often exacerbated by improper grounding that fails to conduct a noise away from the power system. Basically, noise consists of an unwanted distortion of the power signal that cannot be classified as harmonic distortion or transient also. See, don't categorize or don't treat it as a harmonic distortion or the transient also. This harmonic distortion is something different. We need to categorize as a noise has to be categorized as a distortion. Noise disturbances in electronic devices such as microcomputer and programmable controls. The problems can be mitigated by using filters, isolation transformers, and line conditioners. And also in a case of where you are measuring out a signal levels also, when you try to measure a signal levels, if you have a noise in a system, if you want to eliminate the noise, if you have a solidly connected grounded, or even like if you want to measure a signal without the noise, if you are going to use an isolation transformer also, then we can eliminate noise And also whenever you are measuring a signal, if you want to attain to a ground, one of the terminal to be, if you grounded it, you won't be getting the noise. This particular noise also is the creating the waveform distortion also. Okay. Yeah, these are the 5 things which have been creating the waveform distortion. The waveform distortion is DC offset, harmonics and interharmonic, notching and noise. Okay. In the next class, we'll try to see about the other aspects of the definitions or other terms. In the next class, next class is on Monday. And one more thing I want to tell you, like on every Friday we'll be having a class around 4:30 to 5:30, right? Is everyone there or not?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And I am taking this class of Friday class as a asynchronous mode. Okay. There won't be any Friday class. The physical online class won't be there on Friday. I'll try to record it and I'll try to share you also. Not Friday, right? It's Thursday, right? Is it Thursday or?
Sir, Friday, sir.
Thursday. It is Thursday. Okay, Thursday class won't be there. 4:30 to 5:30. I'll try to do the recording and then I'll share to you. Okay. We'll be having the class on Monday and then the Tuesday and then the Saturday, whatever the time according to the timetable also. Even if the timetable, if the Saturday class, if the Thursday class is going to happen on the Saturday also, I'm not going to take. Okay. You'll be having the class only on Monday and Tuesday timetable. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.